All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of another Google Plus Hangout for Channels Beam. I'm Victor Mataz, and today we're looking at the recent outbreak of meningitis. It's no longer news that over 300 people, approaching 500 people, have died as a result of the outbreak of meningitis, especially in Zamfara, Sokoto, Zamfara and Sokoto states, Kebbi as well, and a couple of other northern states, mostly in the north central and the northwest. But then one would begin to wonder what might have resulted in the recent outbreak in this year. But then to answer that question, I have three doctors with me. Victor Bamshai joins us from Lviv in Ukraine. Thank you for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
And we also have Komilesi also joins us from the same city. Thanks for coming on board. And we have Oluwole Femi, who joins us from Lagos, Nigeria. Even though we can't really hear him at the moment, but hopefully his internet will be gracious enough to let us get to him. But then, Victor, let me come to you to help us keep this conversation going. What could have resulted, first and foremost, to the recent outbreak of this disease?
Thank you very much, Victor. For meningitis, quite a lot of factors are considered, and a lot of things could have led to it, but primarily it is as a result, I will attribute it primarily as a result to low standard of living in Nigeria per se. I mean, we're talking about Nigeria. If you look at the places where the outbreaks are currently, you will find out that there are places of low socioeconomic standards. And so there are places where people get to share things, where people live in minimal space. And you see, all of this contribute to the spreading of meningitis because, it can be bacterial, it can be viral. And you see that probably these places are places where hygiene are not kept. I mean, the laws of hygiene are not kept. So I think the main reason for the spreading of this is a low standard of living, a low socioeconomic standard, and also, let me use the word, low standard of healthcare in Nigeria. How many primary health centers do we have? How quick could they have arrested this when it started, before it starts to spread? So I think these are reasons why Nigeria has high recurrence rate when it comes to meningitis.
All right, very well. I'll come back to you in just a minute. Let me get to hear from Komi. Komi, what's your thoughts on this? Komilesi, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. What do you think about, or what do you think might have resulted in the recent outbreak of this disease in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you very much for that very beautiful question. Just like Dr. Bamishai and Victor have said, one of the basic causes of meningitis, or one of the root causes of meningitis, particularly in Africa in general, is primarily directed to poor hygiene and low socioeconomic class, just as he has pointed out. And why am I saying this? Very well, like particularly one of the causes of meningitis, which is Listeria meningitis, listeriosis, it's gotten from basically eating of uncooked food, poor refrigeration, or poor sterilization of food, a lot of poor management of food substances like vegetables, meat, and all that. And we know particularly in areas like the northern part of Nigeria, where these things, where they are low economic class, poor hygiene and all that, these people tend to eat this food without taking proper sanitation, without proper, preservations of this food. So basically, due to poor socio-economic class and poor hygiene, these diseases will skyrocket in areas in the northern part of Nigeria.
All right. So if I got you correctly, Victor, one of the causes, according to you now, might be the level of poor hygiene. That's one. The congestion. That's also two. But you also have such cases even in big cities like Lagos. How come we're not having this outbreaks in big cities?
All you need to get the outbreak is just one person. one person with the disease, one person contacting it or contracting it. Yeah. So when that one person contracted, in places of high population, it's a very huge risk. So the fact that it's not in Lagos does not mean Lagos is not at risk. Lagos is at high risk because of the high population, and it's very, I mean, little space also in Lagos. So that is why I think the government, any government, treats meningitis as a matter of emergency. And you can see with the rapt response from the federal government, they are meeting the World Health Organization tomorrow to see how they can release more vaccines, which are usually in little quantity, you know, worldwide. And so Lagos, any big populated city, is at risk. So all that has happened in these areas is that, in these areas that we have mentioned, is that they have low socioeconomic lifestyle and probably the thriving of the microorganisms that are responsible for this. Do you understand my point? So if peradventure one of them should migrate to Lagos today, there's every high risk, there's every possibility that it will become an epidemic in Lagos.
Are you saying we need to start guarding the borders?
What I'm saying is that we need to try to contain it where it is right now, and go through the primary measures of vaccination of every child right now.
All right, very well. But Komi, vaccination, like you said, it seems to be like a big deal because, like you said, it is little in quantity. But with the issue right now, we have like 5 states that are affected in Nigeria. How can we cover these areas if we don't have enough to go around?
Yeah, basically, what I think the government should now focus at is ensuring that they get the current people that are suffering from this meningitis, and also those that are potential carriers of this, because of bacteria and viruses that causes this meningitis are aerophilic. That means they are airborne. So it's very, very important for the government, basically, or the health agencies, to identify the affected and try as much as they can to isolate them from the environment. Because if I understand the kind of settlements in Nigeria, particularly in a city like Lagos, the place is very congested. And when you have a bacteria or an infection that is airborne, it is quite easy, like Dr. Victor have said, for every other person to get it. So basically what the government should do right now, since we don't have enough in quantity, try as much as it can to seek for help from the World Health Organization and get this vaccine. As you are seeking for this help, it's also important for you to get the people that are infected already and isolate them from the environment.
All right. So what's the survival rate if one is even detected with the disease? Let's say he's detected early enough. What's the survival rate? What's the survival chances of such a person?
Early detection, like I said, is the key. Rate is that's the prognosis is good. It's quite good, depending on the strain of the bacteria or the virus involved. But basically, on the normal rate, the survival rate is cool, but also can be very fatal as well, depending on the strain as well. So the most important thing is early detection. Early detection. If these patients are detected early enough and are given prompt medical care, I believe quite a lot of them will survive. But if they come in at the end or the late stages, of course, the mortality rate will be very, very high. So I think early detection is the key. There should be a sporadic intervention by medical personnel to going into various areas and trying as much as they can. If they see a basic symptom of meningitis on any patient at all in the hospital, they should try as much as they can to attend to the patient as soon as possible.
Well, that will lead me to my next line of thoughts. Victor, what are these symptoms? He just made mention of that. What could these symptoms be?
Yeah, when you see someone who is complaining of headache and you can observe stiff neck and the patient has a high temperature, which we call fever, then you can begin to suspect meningitis. And there are other associated symptoms like photophobia. There could also be vomiting, which is vomiting is a very huge symptom here. And sometimes there are rashes, and so you can quickly notice this and try to take the patient to the nearest healthcare center available. Don't keep it at home. Don't try to treat it at home. because you also stand the risk of contracting the same disease yourself. So get the person to the nearest hospital as soon as possible.
Well, as soon as possible. But then, like you made mention earlier on, how many of those primary healthcare centers do we have around? But then Dr. Oluwalefemi has been with us. Oh, he just dropped. We just lost him. But then, Victor, again, the issue of diverting, these vaccines, is also a possibility. How do we detect and how can we stop this from happening?
Of diverting the vaccines?
That's right.
The question will be, who is responsible for the vaccines? So we only need to know who is responsible for vaccines, and then treat it as every way the normal way we want to prevent corruption, which we know has become a part of our national fabric. I think diversion of vaccines is as criminal as every other thing, because this is the health of the people. So one way we can do that is to make sure everything is accounted for by making sure those who are in charge of it account for it. So getting it to the end user as soon as possible and making sure the people account for it. I think that is, in my opinion, that is a way we can prevent diversion.
Very well. So now that the federal government is, of course, asking not only the WHO but even the UNICEF for assistance, which areas should they be focusing on?
I think the main area where they need focus on is in getting vaccines. Usually, pharmaceuticals are one of the world's most expensive businesses that you can find around. So getting drugs and vaccines are very expensive, and this is largely due to the amount that is spent in research too. So I think the main area where they will need help is in getting these vaccines. World Health Organization can hardly help any country structure their policies towards health. So that should be a Nigerian thing, and we should know what suits us best. But generally, we would need help in getting these vaccines and probably help in treatment protocols, because as medicine advances, treatment protocols also advances. So I think these are the major areas where we will need to focus on.
Very well. So what about immunization? Komi, let me come to you on this. Your camera is actually turned again. Okay, good. Komi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your camera. You need to set it back. You're looking funny at the moment.
Your head is turned to the side.
Good.
Okay. Is it okay
yeah.
now?
Yeah, this is okay. Yeah, so we're looking at how far. Okay, it's gone back again.
What about now?
Still the same thing.
Oh, this is good.
All right, so we're looking at how far immunization can go in even forestalling the outbreak of the disease.
How far? Please, can you repeat yourself?
Immunization, like
Okay.
how far immunization can go in stalling the outbreak of the disease.
It's going to go a very long way. It's going to help greatly. Looking at taking Ukraine as a case study and making reference to a similar kind of outbreak like we are experiencing in Nigeria that was experienced in Ukraine a couple of years ago, which is the avian flu. I think also a couple of them were experiencing some. They engaged rapid immunization of all newborn babies and also children within the age of 0 and 5 years old. And within a period of 6-7 years, Ukraine was able to eradicate the avian flu from their system. So I believe if Nigeria is able to engage that kind of approach as well and ensure that all newborn babies are being immunized, and also people within the ages of 0 or from 1 year old to at least 8, 9, 10 years old are being immunized, I think it's going to really help to eradicate this pandemic or epidemic that is already engaging.
All right. So one other thing that we noticed is that it mostly happens during the dry season. Why is that so?
Why?
I said it happens mostly during the dry season. Why is that so?
Mostly during the dry season. It's very, very important. Like I made mention before, one of the causative agents or etiology of meningitis is Listeria meningitis. And Listeria meningitis is known as a psychrophilic bacteria. What do I mean by psychrophilic? That means it grows more in cold environment, and it's also stable in the environment. So particularly in dry season, they replicate much more faster. Neisseria meningitis and all other bacteria that also causes meningitis as well. So in that temperature, in that particular period or that season, they replicate more. So there is high replication. And also, since they are aerophilic, that means they are airborne. In dry season, we know that there are a lot of dust and a lot of movement of particles here and there. So people easily inhale them and people easily contract them. So they replicate more in that season, and they are easily distributed amongst congested populations within that period of time.
Funny enough, I was going to ask you what you meant by aerophilic, but then thankfully you actually just cleared the air on that, because all those terminologies, we might not just be so used to them. But I mean, of course, we do see all of you watching us on the YouTube stream. Some are asking, even though we answered this question before, Ejiro Lems was asking what the symptoms of meningitis are. Victor actually answered that question, but Victor, if you can just run through that for her benefit, because I think she joined the stream late, so she knows what these, or he or she knows what these symptoms are.
All right, so the symptoms are headache, stiff neck, and sometimes altered consciousness, and there's vomiting. There is also fever, and there could be photophobia. Photophobia is the person is scared of light. The person is scared of light. So when you see these things, you can suspect that this person has meningitis. Although yes, the all symptoms are called meningism, but you can easily suspect meningitis until lumbar puncture and other tests are done to confirm this. But to suspect immediately, you see the signs and you try your best to get to the nearest health center that is as soon as possible. Rash also may be present, don't forget.
All right, very well. Komi, let me come back to you on the issue of immunization. You made mention of immunizing newborn babies and all that. What about the older ones, someone like me now, or someone in your age, my age range? What should we be doing? Should we also go and subject ourselves or present ourselves to be immunized?
Thank you very much for that wonderful question, and I think that's also very important as well to note. Basically, the vaccines or for the immunizations that are carried out currently are much more for children of for little children and newborns, and also for for a little bit of teens and all that. So, but for elderly people, I think basically what they should do, number one, you try as much as you can to isolate yourself from environment or from people where you see that people that have these symptoms. And as well, there are prophylactic therapies you can take for prophylaxis in some situations, particularly when you are in an environment that is prone to meningism. So what you try to do is to seek medical attention, and they will give you a lot of some antibiotics that you can take for prophylaxis. And also you carry out your routine, like what I mentioned initially, carry out routine sanitation of your environment, because these dirty environments are what prune or help in the growth of these bacteria. You take care of your environment, you try as much as you can to wash the fruits before you eat them, you try as much as you can to heat the meat and boil them very well before you eat them. So carry out your routine sanitation and all that, and I think that will go a long way to help preventing that.
All right, thank you very much. It's just sad we couldn't hear from Oluwole Femi, even though he joined us. But then we should be wrapping up in just a minute. But before we go, what would be your closing remark?
Yeah, meningitis meningitis is a very, very serious disease. And right now, as it's affecting Nigeria, I want Nigerians to know that the reason why we are having this outbreak at this particular point in time, particularly, is because of our environment. So I think we should take more time to addressing the issues of sanitation, and let it not just be the issue of government now, but people should take it upon themselves to try as much as they can to sanitize the environment, because it is for you, it is advantageous to you, not just for the government.
Thank you very much, Komi. All right, Victor, let's also get to hear from you before we wrap this conversation up.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we already know that the sub-Saharan Africa is described, by the World Health Organization and health observers as the meningitis belt, and this is because of the high occurrence rate. It happens, almost every 2 years. So since we know this, why can't we be more proactive? Why can't we give immunization to people? To these teenagers and people who should have it, so that we can wipe meningitis off our land completely. It is possible. And also, why can't we get our environment secured in terms of hygiene and cleanliness generally? Then why can't we as individuals eat food that can boost our immunity and get us stronger as a people? And when we are stronger people, we can be a stronger nation. Don't forget that your health is as important as your wealth. Without your health, you have no wealth.
So you made mention of foods that can actually boost our immunity. Like which one?
Just every normal balanced diet.
All right.
Not getting just carbohydrates. Get your protein, get your vitamins. They are very important. Drink enough water. I see in Nigeria people like to drink Coke and all of these things. They are good, but I think water is better.
All right, very well. Thank you for that contribution. But then Victor Bamishaye, Komi Lesit, and Olu Wole Femi, whom we didn't really get to hear from. That's all we can take on this edition of the program. Thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts. And hopefully this outbreak will be curtailed, will be contained, and of course, eradicated as well. But then thanks for coming today on the program. Victor Matthias, and it's a Google Plus Hangout for Channels Beam.